Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to be doing yet another simple Photoshop tutorial, and the reason being is that many of the tutorials found on the channel at the moment are a little complicated even with the templates available for download, and many new users to Photoshop may not have the know-how or experience to make that make that design even with the tutorial there and with the template available for download. So the purpose of these two tutorials is to provide something simpler and easier that really anybody could make with some minutes to spare. So if you remember from this last video, I had some errors with getting this properly recorded. I found out what it was. I had switched OBS from converting straight to MP4 or outputting to MP4. I switched it so it outputs to MP4 and not MKV, which apparently OBS didn't like in the slightest, and the whole thing decided to just crumble apart and not save anything. So that's fixed, and it should be all be working correctly now. And if you notice with Photoshop, some things are set up differently, same with OBS, that's why I had problems with it. I got a new computer, so I was having to readjust things and reconfigure it to how it was before. So you have this general design here, and we're going to be incorporating some ideas of this one into a new banner, which is going to follow the same rounded rectangle shape as previous banners have, but it's going to look more akin to this than the others. So to start out, we're going to go ahead and create a new file. I'm going to use 1200 by 1000 for my width and height. It's a good sweet middle spot for images you're going to be uploading to Discord. If you're going to be working on posters or t-shirt images, you definitely want to go a lot larger. I would say in the 15,000 range, if not a bit smaller or larger compared to, or depending on the project that you'll be doing. But in the case of Discord, where you have we have upload limits, this is really just a great spot to aim for. So I'm going to hit create. I'm going to get rid of this background layer. I'm going to come over to this rounded rectangle tool. I'm going to go ahead and drag this down. Now you don't need this to be sized correctly from the get-go, because we can come right over here to the right size where it says live shape properties, and it might not be there for you. If not, you can do the same thing right up here at the top, width and height. But I'm going to keep it all on this right side for me. And I'm going to resize this to 1028 for the width and 260 for the height. And that's a pretty appropriate size for what I want to be doing. There we go. I'm going to center it, not really any reason to, but I prefer to have it there. The next step is we're going to make this the base layer. I hit Ctrl J, by the way, to duplicate that. You can also duplicate it by right clicking, I believe. I don't remember the, or is it in here, image, duplicate. Yeah, you can do it either that way, or you can do Ctrl J. Ctrl J is so much quicker. I don't recommend coming up here and hitting duplicate. Yeah, that would be very painful. So that's our base, and this is going to be our edge. And I might actually move that in the future. So with our edge, we're going to go to stroke, make it white, unselect that, make this about, let's say, 6 pixels. And we're going to drag this out to the edge. Now there are several different ways you could do this. One way that I normally do it is I'll take the base layer, duplicate it, add a stroke, rasterize it, control click the base layer while still on that main layer, and click delete, and it will delete everything except for the stroke. But I want to try this out real quick and see how this will look. I'm just adding a white to the background just so I can see if there's going to be any messiness. I can't guarantee this is going to look great. If it doesn't, I'll go back to my original method. But it doesn't hurt to try, you know? That's there. It's there. And I want to make sure that there's no holes at the edges. If there's a hole at the edge of your file, then you did something, I'm sorry, at the edge of your border, then you did something very wrong. So I think that should be fine, though the sizing feels a little off to me. So I might actually do from here is add another stroke. And I'll make this one 2 pixels, because that one felt a bit small. Maybe just 1 pixel, because that feels too thick now. 1 pixel. Cool. So yeah, there's 2 ways to approach it. One is to take the initial base layer, and instead of having it be a fill, have it be a stroke, and just resize it to go around the edges. Or take this initial layer, do Control J, blending options, stroke, not that, stroke, make it say that for example, rasterize it, I'm going to hide that real quick, right click, delete, and you'll also have your edge. Either way works fairly fine, just make sure you zoom in and check the corners, and you might have to come over here and clean that up a little bit. To do that, you can just, if you have it at the top, it's okay if you're a little messy with it. You can take your pencil tool and just brush over that after rasterize it. I'll undo it in a sec. You can, there it is, rasterize it and just quickly draw over that. There we go, to fix it, but it's up to you how you want to approach it. I'll take this method. And actually, do I want it at the top? I might just do it at the top actually. I don't need that stroke then. Cool. So that's out the way. We can go ahead and get to the next step. And if you actually want to round this more as well, you'd go over to your tool and, oh, I didn't unrash. There we go. You go over to your tool and you keep it like this, and you just hold Control and you drag it to round it a little bit. And I probably should have actually rounded this some. There we go, 17, 19. Because just having it straight is very boring. Okay, cool. So that's the edge, that's the base, control group. We'll name this the base section. I know we're at 8 minutes and we haven't done much, but we'll get into the fun part in a moment. Actually, let's get to it right now. We can add the dotted line in a sec. So let's say we can use this blue. I might just grab that blue from here because I really like this blue. Grab our rectangle tool, and we're going to have this be our ribbon. I think that's a good thickness for the ribbon. Make that blue. Yep, that's a nice thick ribbon right there. Center that. Sizing is probably a little off, but that's easily fixable. So to get the darker part in the back to make it look like it's an actual ribbon popping off the frame, you take that initial blue and just make it darker. I'll go down to about there. We're going to go to the top, grab our pen tool, click there, click about as far out as you can, make sure it's on the line, hold shift as you do so. Sorry, not shift. It's supposed to be shift. Yeah, there we go. Not sure what that was. There we go. And you can see it creates a perfectly even 45-degree angle. Then shift again, click up top. And see, make selection. Shift F5, color, dark, okay. And we have our darker little backdrop right here. So now it looks like it's wrapping around the back. We can take that real quick, Control J, Control T, go to the height, add a negative to flip it, check mark, drag that down, and line it up. Lining it up, we can see that this is a little too big, so grab your initial layer and hold shift as you drag this down to make sure you're resizing it properly. Hold the check mark, Hello there. You not want to resize? There we go. That's a little odd. Look at that. It's like a pixel off. It's interesting. And I didn't fix the pattern yet. I still have this really bad pattern that I found online. I probably should just grab the one from my old PC. So give me a second to just grab the pattern from a different project and bring it over because I cannot use this pattern pack I have downloaded. If you haven't seen it already, this pattern pack is absolutely horrendous. Oh, is this the one I had before? Oh, I remembered my other pattern. Cool, so I won't bother switching them, but this other pattern I had, it wasn't even a straight line pattern. It had this weird zigzags and I don't know, it was a little whack. I'm not gonna deal with that. So add our line right there. Copy. I might actually add a drop shadow as well to the right side. Make sure global light is never selected, otherwise you screw everything up if you decide to go back over here and edit stuff. Size down a little bit, bring our distance back. And we're going to add that same pattern to our other, we'll name these legs. Legs, legs. Cool, so that's theirs done. We'll go ahead and group this up. We'll name this the main section. Control G, we'll name this, what should we name it? Ribbon. Ribbon, Control G again, and this will be a big old ribbon group. So we can have two ribbons right there. And then we can do Control J, Control T, go to the width, give that a little flip. And we're going to have to fix the drop shadow because the drop shadow is on the wrong side now. And that should be about the same. Not quite. There we go. Now we have ribbons on both sides. Quickly go back in and flip that ribbon, sorry, not the ribbon, the drop shadow back. Or I can just put 0. I'm not sure why I'm bothering with that. Drop it into 0. And that flips that. And we can hide all this again. And now we have these ribbons right here. And there's one more step for the whole ribbon process, is to add little ribbons to both edges. So I'm going to duplicate this. I'm going to get rid of the legs because they're no longer needed. We'll name this the small, hit caps lock, small ribbon edge. Control T, I'm going to flip that on the sides. Put that out to about that length. Now you know why I wanted to have this space over here. I wanted to have this little ribbon sticking out. And this is actually going to be dragged below the base section. We're going to come over here. We're going to grab our pen tool. I'm going to rasterize, actually copy layer style, clear, and rasterize. I'm going to go from the center there to about here. It's not quite it. Perfect. Make selection. And I'm holding shift while I do so to make sure I have a perfect angle. And it looks like that one just screwed up for some reason. Not sure why I wanted to do so, but I should be able to fix that real quick. Actually looks like it lined up on its own. Cool, so that ribbon's there. We can go ahead and repaste our layer style. And I might actually brighten that up. And let's see, we'll name this the, don't need to name that actually, Control J, Control T. Actually, before I do that, let me go like that so I know it's an even on both sides. Drag that over, Cool. Now the ribbon extends both both vertically and horizontally, and we're on to our last little section here. So I want to make this orange. This will be our vertical ribbons. And let's go back over here, and we're going to grab our dot pattern real quick to have the dots go right around the edges here. So I'm going to duplicate the base and go back to our round rectangle, or you can be on rectangle, doesn't really matter. Both are the same thing. I'm not even sure why these tools are really split up, because for the rectangle, when you drop it down like that, you can just come over here and add edges to it. So it seems a little pointless having these tools broken up like that, but what do I know? So we're going to get rid of the fill, and we're going to add a white stroke. Once again, it's going to be dots. I have to resize this a little bit. I'm holding shift while I do this so it resizes properly. And that is way too thin for the dots. That's barely, I'm sorry, for the, that's perfect, 3 pixels. Before it was way too small so you couldn't see it, so I went ahead and readjusted it so you could see all of the little dotted lines going around the edges. And what you could actually do for the base as well is you could add a pattern to it if you really wanted to. I might actually do that, to be honest with you. I think that'll look good. Yep. And now it's the last little part here, and that's just going to be adding the text. Sorry if I'm not talking so much this tutorial. I feel a little strange with this new version of Photoshop because I don't have my old patterns. I'm using this on a different screen, and it's not really configured the way I'm normally used to it, so I'm a little out of my zone at the moment. So I'm going to hide that, Control G, and this is going to be our last section. This is going to be text. Let's make this, let's say violet. We're going to be using white for the font because it really stands out against the black backgrounds, or not black, but gray, dark. And the font I'm going to be using is called Tokyo. Now this isn't a free font, so I'll link it down below where you can purchase it if you want to. If you find other ways to acquire it, which I'm sure you will, please don't list that in the comments, but I'm sure you'll figure out how to get this font. It's called Tokyo, and you can figure out how you want to get it on your own, but I'll just have the purchase link down in the comments below. So we can name this, let's say, rules, for the server rules. And I'm going to blow this up, metaphorically. It's not actually blowing up, just blowing up the size. Rules, drag that right to the center. Perfect. You can make it bigger or smaller if you really want to, that's up to you. And there's two things we can do from here. We can either call this good right here, and I still have this in the background just so I can get a nice contrast. We can either say this is good, this is perfect, so we're done, or we can, as we did with this one, add a cute little blue line at the bottom. So I'll go ahead and add the line. If you want to keep it, it's up to you. If you don't, once again, up to you. But the line will be here for those who wish it. If you don't, delete. It's not a very big line, is it? Oh, it's only 2 pixels, no wonder. Look at that, it's so bizarre. What is Photoshop doing this for? Is this some setting I have? It wasn't doing that before. That is very strange. Cool, so it has a blue line there. That's all set up. And the last and final step before we can post this on Discord is to grab our rectangular marquee tool, highlight all of this. Oops. Edit, copy merged file, new, create, Control V, hide the backgrounds. And now as you can see, it's being downsized to fit the exact size of the image. And you have two ways that you can really save this. You can either do File, Save As, and then PNG. And that's going to be a fairly large image. And when I say large, I mean file size. Or you can do export, save for web. And it's going to pop this up right here. We have a bunch of options. Don't really bother with these. And just hit save. And this is going to be a pretty small file size. It's going to keep all the quality. I believe it reduces quality a teeny tiny bit, but it's such a small amount that you're not going to notice it. And really just a great way to get your file size down. You could always go to sites such as TinyPNG or PNG Compressor and bring it down even more if you need to, but this is a nice and easy way to just do it right off the bat within Photoshop itself. So that's really it for the tutorial. As you saw, it's really simple to do. The reason it took 21 minutes to explain is one, so again, readjusted to this new PC, and two, I'm trying to make it as easy as possible to follow for people who aren't experienced with Photoshop yet. In reality, I could probably whip this up in a couple minutes if I was on my own time, or try to make this real quick, but explaining it, all of that takes some time to do. So I hope you all enjoyed this video. I'm going to have another video on screen for another tutorial that's still rather simple. It is a little more on the complicated end, so if you think you're ready for that next step, feel free to try it out. And we'll be back to our weekly uploads starting next week. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you all have an amazing day.